What to do, KTTeeV? This is KT, and I'm coming at you live with another episode of the Daily K Podcast. And on today's episode, we have Miss Sherelle Webb, owner of Coding with a Twist and an educational specialist at the NASA Lunar and Planetary Institute. How you doing today, Ms. Webb?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I won't complain. It's Friday Eve, so we're wrapping it up. I
Yep,
want to say thank you for taking a few minutes today out of the busy schedule to talk about the camp and about your work that you're doing.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I like to always check in because of the times we're living in. So, how have you been? How are things during the pandemic?
Well, Mr. Thomas, to be very transparent with you, this is the most I've ever spent at home, and I've really been loving it. I have a season and a testimony of increase, and I know that there have been some personal losses from close family members of mine, but I have not shared that same story. So I am indeed blessed and grateful during this time.
Oh, that's good. And so, with the coding, how have you had to adjust things since the start of the pandemic for your business?
Well, everything is gone virtual, and so I have been working and updating my craft, especially with the kids going to virtual online learning. Of course, they were stuck in that same mode doing school, so it's something to bring fresh, new, something that will engage them. And I make sure that camp is between 45 minutes, 45 minutes, not longer than that, because more than that is over. So I just try to make sure that I am educating them on that particular skill and then allow them to practice that skill offline.
Now, and before we get into it, because we was
Yeah.
already going deep into the camp right
Yeah.
here, uh, can you give me a little bit about your background? And I know former
Sure.
educator, so
Yep.
just give me a little bit about that background and how did you get to this point?
Well, I'm going to make a change because, once an educator, always an educator, right?
True. Okay. Okay. True.
So I spent about 7 years in the classroom. Matter of fact, I started off at Cashmere High School teaching chemistry. And then I transitioned to middle school, seventh grade math. And then I had another year, seventh grade math. And then after that, I definitely found my niche of eighth grade science. I'm highly qualified for math and science, but science is by far that's my jam, like that's where I love science. And so I was in the classroom for 7 years, as I stated. And after all of the awards, accolades, grant writing skills, all of those things, I felt like I reached the glass ceiling. And during that time, I was even confiding in veteran teachers, just asking them, how did you know it was time to move on? So, seeking their wisdom and taking in all of the gems that they gave me, I really took it to heart. And I'm like, you know what? It's my time. It's my time. And so I then talked to God about it because it wasn't all my decision. So I prayed about it, and I looked up and got, well, it can't say luck, right? I was definitely praying for this transition. There was an opportunity came available at the Lunar and Planetary Institute. Just one of my Facebook friends posted it, and I applied. And I actually left the classroom 1 week before my students took the Science Star test.
Wow. Talking
Yeah,
about like, hey, but this I got to do this.
yeah. And I had to do it, not for just me, but for my family.
Yes, yes. And then, oh, now this is the question: how did they do on the star when you check back on them?
Well, they actually did. Well, I knew that I was leaving them prepared. So it was definitely, I let them know in advance. It wasn't just an overnight thing. Of course, they saw me taking things out of my classroom too. They was like, what? What's going on? So I didn't want it to feel like I was abandoning them, right? Because they've already had that experience from their everyday life. So I didn't want it to be another adult that they felt care about them to leave. So it was a bittersweet moment. They knew that I was bettering myself, and they were then losing their teacher, but they knew that I was doing this for my family. So when you have that type of communication, it's easy to say, hey, I'm not going far. Call me when you need me. And so that's kind of the conversation that we had at the time. My students actually did, and when you asked about scores, they actually did okay. They actually did okay. They did not secure a distinction like the 2 years before, but they did okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you was leaving them in good hands. All right, so now I understand the level of science, and so I guess that leads you to the Lunar and Planetary Institute. And so, as we get into that, can you talk a little bit about what that is and what is your role?
Absolutely. So the Lunar and Planetary Institute is actually a place that was established for planetary scientists. And so, right after the Apollo missions that happened, we just had our 50th anniversary, which was July 20th. So, after Apollo landings happened and missions happened, they wanted to establish a facility where planetary scientists can come and do their research all under like one roof. And so it's been established for 51 years now. And so my job title there is education specialist. And so what I do and what's my role, being an education specialist, I pair the scientists up with either outreach opportunities like schools or colleges or public organizations, nonprofit organizations. I also, I think I'm gonna get into this a little later, but one of the things that I found really fascinating was that. I'm sitting in this room, right, with scientists, and I'm feeling like a peon, But where I found my niche is that a lot of scientists talk at a very high level. And if I'm pairing them with different organizations, my job is to coach them to bring it down a little bit. Okay. And so instead of using the word lunar regolith, which is basically moon dust, hey, just say moon dust instead of regolith. Nobody knows what that is.
I remember when I was graduating from University of Houston, and
Uh huh.
I worked with a program at HISD called Citizen Schools. And
Okay.
so what I wanted to do was I wanted to work on science. And so
Yeah.
some kind of way I reached out to a lady at NASA, and she sent me
Uh huh.
like a space kit, or it was like a curriculum. And so like
Okay.
but it was like, we just did a lot of exploration stuff. And so
Okay.
it was just funny to hear you say that, because you wouldn't have had that problem with me. I don't think I was too advanced with my language. But it was fun though. We created like the moon stuff, our little cookies, and I mean we
Yeah.
just did a
Yeah.
lot with it was middle school too, so they were able to get
Sure.
advanced. Yeah, but that's cool then. I love that. And so schools with the nonprofits, scientists with the nonprofits, scientists with the schools, and all they
Hmm.
do is kind of reach out to you, and you're able to set it up from there.
Yes, I'm able to set up. I'm able to set up a meeting. Of course, we're in this virtual world, so I've actually created a virtual program called VEEPS, and it stands for Virtual Exploration Experiences with Planetary Scientists. And even though that's an extensive name, we provide virtual programs. This virtual program entails a introduction, a presentation, a demonstration, and then Q&A. And what, according to the feedback, I thrive on feedback. And so according to the feedback, the kids or the public really likes it because they get to they get to see the scientists, speak with the scientists. And even though it is not face to face, it's they get to ask the question directly. Like you don't have a middle person, so you're eliminating that. So that's really what they get the thrill out of.
And now this is the question. So, science person, you've been doing this, then you get here, you meet up with all these scientists, the brains are there. What is one thing that you didn't know about maybe the Earth or exploration that you learned that was cool when you got to the Planetary Institute?
I would probably most likely say that it had nothing to do with the science at all. It was just to understand that they are just regular individuals too. And for me to have the task of listening and coaching them through their presentation. It was really mind blowing because you think that they are, invincible, but they are just regular people and they love things just like you and I do, but they have a passion for planetary science, just like I have a passion for education. And so, a lot of things around LPI fascinates me, thinking about what you think that a scientist does versus what they actually do. I think that was probably the most mind blowing thing because really they're there with their computer. Right. And they're not wearing white lab coats, right? They're normally wearing Hawaiian shirts or something like
Yeah, see
that.
that you already got me then, because I'm totally thinking like they sitting here, they got the glasses on, the haircut,
No, 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 no. Huge misconception.
and TV.
Yep.
So then, all right, I love it. So then that brings us to coding with the twist. So
Yes.
how did you get the business started? Well, how did you even develop the love of robotics to even want to turn it into a business?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Okay, so being an educator, I do believe that I am a lifelong learner. Like, I never get to the point where I cannot learn. So, with that being said, I'm a professional development junkie. And so I ran across this professional development that was going to be given at Rice called computational thinking. And you know what? And actually, I reached out. I tried to register, but it was full, right? But it was on a Saturday. I'm like, okay. So what did I do? I get in my car on that Saturday and I go to Rice. And sometimes people don't show up. Well, as I looked at the roster, Kendrick, as I looked at the roster, I saw, three names that were not, people didn't sign in. So I know that there were three vacant spots. Well, one of the names was a colleague of mine that I worked with, that I had her number. I called her up on this Saturday morning, and she answered the phone. It sounded like she was still in the bed asleep. So then I asked her, I said, are you going to come to this professional development at Rice? If not, can I take your spot? She said, girl, I forgot all about that. Girl, go and get that lanyard and sit down. So I was able to get her lanyard. I told them about it. They said that was perfectly fine, right? And then I sat down and I was introduced to computational thinking at that moment. It was on a Saturday. And by Monday, I had a plan for my students. I knew that what I learned, the first task I was given was to create a game. And I knew from that icebreaker activity that this was something that I had to take back to my students without a shadow of a doubt.
That's it. And after that all started the coding from there.
Hey, yes. And actually, I went to my principal and I told her about, and I hadn't had the name just yet. So I was just kind of getting my mind wrapped around it. And I told her that I wish to introduce the students who were known as, repeat offenders in ISS. I had the desire to introduce it to them because it was obviously a disconnect from the curriculum. And so I wanted to introduce them to that. And guess what she said? No. She said no. I'm like, well, why not? She said, Sherelle, think about it. If they're having fun in school suspension, then they're going to want to come back to school suspension. So you are giving them something to look forward to, and it shouldn't be in that sense. Well, you know what, Kendrick? I got mad. I got mad because she told me no. And then when I told my husband what she said, he agreed with her. No, so guess what I did? Okay, so we had this thing at school. We call it Power Hour. Power Hour was a built-in 1 hour intervention period where I can teach them anything that I wanted, but I really supposed to be teaching them, what they was low on with science teach, right? Well, my eighth grade team, we rotated, home rooms. We rotated home rooms, so I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So then instead of teaching computer science, robotics, and coding in my instructional period, I would teach it during Power Hour. And this is how I was kind of, infusing computer science in science because that there's no computer science, there's no science in computer science. So this is how I kind of infused it. And my first thing that I infused it with was this bad boy. It's called a Sphero. It's a robotic sphere. And so, I decided to, what? If I was a first year teacher with my principal saying no, if I was a first year teacher, I probably would have tucked my tail between my legs and said, okay, I'm not going to do anything. But because I was a very effective, 4 ratings when it comes to appraisals, award winning, I'm what is called a non-traditional teacher, out of the box type of thing. I said to her, game on. Because one day she caught me. She came into class, she was she was evaluating me, and then she saw the computer science going on. And she said, you know what? She called me Webb, last name type of thing. She said, Webb, let me tell you something. You've been doing good on your benchmarks, but if your scores come down, you're gonna put all this stuff, and this is how she did her hands. She said, all this stuff, you will have to put it away. Put all your toys away. And then I told her, game on. So that's how it started.
I love it. That you were able to introduce them to that world. Because just at this age, I'm like learning more about it, and so I was able to participate with my friend in first Lego League.
Oh
Um,
yes.
yes, and I was even like an MC for the competition at the
Okay.
championship a few at Stafford a few weeks. I mean, now a
Awesome.
while ago, and so but I did not know it was like such a big world.
Oh
I
yes.
mean, like coding, robotics, and starting
Oh
young.
yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
so yeah, so I mean, just we need more of that in the community,
Heck
and
yeah.
so what you doing that is awesome at that cash. So,
Thank
all right.
you.
And so, with the business, what area of Houston do you serve with the physical location?
So actually, all over. The way I really got, I guess, marketing, if you will, I wouldn't pay for marketing or anything like that. What I would do would look for free community events when we were able to actually meet. I invested in a table to be my booth. I have like the stretchy tablecloth, and I would sit all my technology on top and go to free community events, set up my table, and just have kids to play and create obstacle courses out of painter's tape or pine or cones, and then they navigate through. Just give them exposure.
Yes, yes, just that exposure, and that's what they need. And so, since you've been virtual, have you picked up with the students, or how's it going?
So actually, just the week after um, the 4th of July, starting June 6th, I have a camp called Future Proof. And future proof is to solidify or secure your future, because if you know how to code, robotics, coding, you there is no ceiling of what you could do. When you think about someone that codes, think about, matter of fact, at University of Houston, they have those robots going around campus delivering food. A coder is the person that figured out how much money you want coming out the ATM. A coder is the one behind the autonomous cars. And let me put you one in space. A coder is the one that tracks the place of a rover that's on the moon right now. How awesome is that? Matter, and I give you, and I hit one, I get you home right here. So when you are using your cell phone and you get an alert for an update, guess what? A programmer is behind that. See, someone else already experienced a glitch, and so they went ahead and changed the code, or found the bug that was causing that glitch, and they want you to update so you won't experience that glitch. So 9 times out of 10, yeah, 9 times out of 10, when you have an update that you haven't ran yet because you kept on putting ignore because you didn't want to power your phone off, and then you call them and say, "Hey, what's wrong with my phone?" They say, "Well, did you update?" Well, no, I hadn't updated yet. Go ahead and update. It's already been fixed because it was a programmer that did that.
Yes, I'm going to update tonight. I'm sorry. I'm, I'm sorry. I just did it today. All right, that's gosh. Okay, that's awesome, man. But so with the robotics camp, how do I sign up? How much is the cost? What are the hours? How does it go for?
Awesome. So the camp that's happening July 6th, and it's going to be a whole week. It's going to be a whole week long camp, and it's going to be 2 hours a day. So the cost of the camp is actually $125, which I won't even go into how reasonable that is compared to others. Some they scale up from 300, 400. I'm pretty sure that the camp that you were there with in Stafford, a lot of times the registration is $1,200. Yeah. So the camp is $125. It's for 5 days, Monday through Friday. It's going to be virtual, of course, and then you'll have you with your registration, you'll be renting one of these spheros, and then you will have a 2 hour online session with a certified robotics coach, myself, and my partner in crime. His name is Ajeria Julito, and he is award-winning computer science educator, does phenomenal work, and so we're partnering together. And the registration is live now through Eventbrite.
And so now, if let's say I've been doing robotics for a while, because I'm thinking about one student in mind. So they've been
Hmm.
doing it for a while, and now they're going to, I want to say, eighth grade.
Okay.
And so, is it differentiated for the levels, or kind of we just running pretty much the same program?
No. So yeah, there is a sense of differentiation. But what I've learned though, Kendrick, is that does just because a student is a certain age doesn't mean that they understand the concepts of someone that's been doing it for years and years and years. Okay. So with that being said, like here I have the Sphero. Here, this is actually a robot. Her name is Zara, and of course, she appears to the girls. And so, I purchased Zara. She's a smart girls robot, and I purchased her for my daughter Jordan. Jordan is 7 years old, and so she looks like a Barbie doll, but her Segway it actually stands on its own. Yeah, it's like it hovers, right, and it sways back and forth. And so, if we were talking about someone scaling up, check this bad boy out. So this is a TI Inspire calculator, and what it's on is a rover. And so if I have someone who's been doing a coding for a long time, then most likely I will put them on something like this, because not only is it using a calculator that they will soon use when they get to high school, and if they're in algebra one or in algebra, then they will be seeing this type of calculator, and I can show you how to code from this calculator to get this bad boy to move.
That that's
Yeah.
that that answered the question perfectly right there.
So we
Perfect.
all know that technology is ever changing,
Mhm.
right? So it's ever changing, it's ever growing, but have you mastered it?
I can dig it, and I think about me when I was fortunate enough to go to a training with Harris County Department of Education, and it was
Okay.
drones. And so that day we coded drones because my friend was doing the middle school competition. I want to say
Uh-huh.
jam, and so then it was so like we but I was able to code the drone, and I don't know, but it was just fun. So now I have one. And so I got to figure out how to do it, but they also gave me that curriculum, and so then I was working on starting a drone club next year on the campus. So just to get
Oh,
them to coding and things like that. So,
yeah.
but just that little piece changed my life. So, but
Yep.
that's awesome. Then,
Exposure.
yes, that's all. That's it. So I'm like, okay, how can I get somebody else this feeling? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Then, and so as we get ready to wrap it up,
Mm-hmm.
um, you decided to change what you was doing, and so you
Mm-hmm.
really took that leap and kind of bet on yourself. And so, as we
Yes.
look at entrepreneurs and even educators who are thinking of how can I do something like that, what kind of words would you tell them to just give them that shot of confidence?
Man, Kendrick, I would definitely tell them to be their biggest cheerleader. And the thing about it is, when my principal told me no, that was actually supposed to stop me and block me, but it didn't. And so, as long as you are believing in yourself and your ability, then you should strengthen your craft, learn it in and out, and then market yourself with showing people what to do, how to do it, like I did in community events. I also created an electronic portfolio. So, all the things that I'm doing, I'm capturing it. A lot of times, people say, oh, what day did I do that? Or, who was all there and who did I impact and who did I meet? Track it. Track it so you can start building your own portfolio up so you can be your cheerleader. You know, you're going to these different events, you're telling people what you did, but what evidence do you have of it? So I would definitely tell them, in business, if you're not solving a problem, then guess what? You're not making any money. So if you're deciding to go into business for yourself, figure out something that you're very, very good at, that's inconvenience for other people, and go for
Go
it.
for it. That's pretty much it. That is it. If you're not solving a problem, you're not really making no money. All
No,
right.
sir.
That is awesome. I want to say thank you, as well, for just talking to us about everything today. And so, if I want to get in contact with you and I want to, get in touch with the scientists, or either I want to sign up for coding, how do I get in touch with you?
Awesome. So if you want to get in touch with a scientist, that's lpi.usra.edu. We're actually having our next VEEPS is going to be June 30th, which is next Tuesday. We have a scientist by the name of Projector Main. She would do a presentation. It's going to be Asteroids Day. Asteroids Day is next Tuesday, 2020, and our events are always free. We're entity under NASA, so everything that we do is free because your tax dollars already paid for it. And so that event is starting at 6 o'clock. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Facebook, Sherelle Webb, as well as Twitter at Sherelle_Martin. Because I had my Twitter before he put a ring on it. So it's it's Sherelle_Martin. And if you want to know or see my electronic portfolio, because I also educate students and teachers with On Fire to Inspire Education consultation. I show them how to create their own electronic portfolio. And so you can find me on Fire to Inspire. That's on fire, the number two, inspire.weebly.com. And that's my electronic portfolio where you can see everything that I've done in my career. And I'm extremely proud of it.
Wow, that's I don't know what happened today, but you kind of pinpointed me a few. I was the guy just yesterday, like, okay, what day did I do this interview? And see, everything with divine intervention. All right, well, I sure appreciate
Absolutely.
that. I thank you for taking some time out today, Miss Well.
You're absolutely welcome.
All right, well, that will do it for us. This is KT for KTTeeV signing out. 100.